What's going on, everybody? Hope you're having a good day. Today's video I will be showing you guys how I install my Glowshift gauge into my 95 Accord. So let's get straight to it. Okay guys, so here it is. We have a tinted 7-color series Glowshift Oil Pressure Gauge. The pod does not come with the gauge. The pod you have to buy separately, but Glowshift sells, all the accessories for it. But yeah guys, today we're going to be installing this little baby into the Accord. Pretty much my Accord right now only has a light that'll blink if something is wrong, but I honestly I prefer to have an actual gauge, so an actual a real-time reading at all times, so that I can actually see what my pressure's at all times. So you're gonna get the gauge, obviously you're gonna get your new sensor and your wiring for the sensor that will go, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, it will go on the bottom right there, and then you will get your power wires. Now these power wires, they're 4 different wires, and as soon as I start wiring these up, I'll be explaining where each wire needs to go. So let's get straight into it. Okay guys, so I want my pod to sit right there. I think honestly it would look nice, if I'm looking over here while I'm driving, I can always just glance over there at my gauge to see my real-time oil pressure. So the first thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be connecting this sensor into the OEM sensor that already comes in the car. So we're going to be disconnecting the OEM one, and we're going to be plugging this one in, and then running this wire somewhere through the firewall into your cabin area, and pulling it through here, pulling it through there. Our AC vents are right here, so we probably have to pull the wire around the AC vent up here, pull it all the way back here somewhere, and most likely drill a hole back here somewhere so that so we can go ahead and pull the wires in through the through the bottom of the pod. And now I've got here my 24 mil socket that we're going to use to go ahead and remove that sensor. There it is right there, guys. We're going to get our 24 mil on that, and we're going to start taking that out. We've taken the OEM little sensor off with a 24 metric, and now we're gonna put the aftermarket one that comes with the gauge with a 22 12-point socket. But for this one, we're gonna go ahead and use some thread locker on it. Pretty much what you do is you put some of this around the thread, just like it shows on this picture right here, and that pretty much just keeps any oil from leaking out through the threading. So honestly you don't need a lot, just a little dab on there like that, and you should be all good. And just go ahead and take your finger and spread that all around. Alrighty, I got my harness on. I also put some high temperature electrical tape on it, perfect for what we're using. And tape the harness up, not all the way, but just a little bit. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna feed this part from the top down to the actual sensor, and once you get that connected, we'll go ahead and get this end and find a place to cross it through the firewall. I'm probably gonna have to drill a hole, but that's okay. Once I get my hole drilled, we'll feed this through there and pull it out up through the dash where we want it to connect into the pod. Let me show you guys how I'm gonna go ahead and connect that little guy down there. Just want to let y'all know that how that we did here. Honestly, it didn't work that well. So what I went on ahead and did, let me go ahead and show you guys. I went on ahead and just drilled a hole on the bottom side of my, of the floor the carpet, whatever, and just pulled my my wire and my harness through there, you know, connected it to the sensor and pulled the rest up through here. And now I'm gonna route this wire up to, like we have it right here, boom, 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 it should go right up there. So yeah, that's another option if you guys wanna go for that one. The first hole we did, honestly, we just couldn't find it, and there's just a whole bunch of stuff right here that just wouldn't make it work. So yeah, so for our sensor wire, we really don't have to do any wiring. It's literally just plug and play. So just plug it in the sensor and run it to where you want it, and just plug it to the back of the gauge. Now what we do need to do wiring for is all the power, you know, for the power to the gauge, which comes with these wires right here. If you can see already, I've soldered some extra wire onto the negative, because I know I'm gonna need some extra wire for that. I've peeled my red and I've peeled my yellow. So my red wire is gonna be your regular 12 volt with the switched ignition, and your yellow one's gonna be your 12 constant source. So what it means, it's gonna need power pretty much at all times, even when the car's turned off. So what I went ahead and did is, I'm gonna be getting my constant power from my hazard lights. This one right here is from my hazard lights. I went ahead and did my research, and I figured out that the white wire with the green, you know, line is actually hot at all times. So that's where I'm gonna get my constant voltage from. Now my power wire, this wire right here, the red one, we only need power when we switch our ignition. So like I said, I did my research, and I'm getting that power from my rear window defroster. And the yellow one right here is actually going to be my switched source. So what it means is, when I go to turn the key, the gauge should light up and start working. When I turn the car on, the gauge obviously should light on and start working. Now, if you're wondering why you need this yellow one, why do you need constant power in the first place, is because these Glowshift gauges, at least this one right here, it has like a memory setting. So it, you know, you can change it from 7 different colors, and if you want the color to stay the color it was when you turn the car off and then turn it back on, that's why you need the constant voltage, because this thing needs to remember what color it was on. Now, if you don't care about that, if you just want to turn your car on, and I think the default is red, I'm not sure, but yeah, if you don't care about that, honestly, I guess I wouldn't wire that yellow wire up. But I actually tried it that way, and for some reason the gauge wasn't really lighting up that bright. So maybe you might want to do that. But yeah, that is the reason you want to have that constant voltage in it. Okay, I've talked about the yellow wire, I've talked about the red wire. The negative is an obvious, but I haven't talked about the orange wire. I actually forgot to mention that. Now your orange wire is actually your 12 volt switched headlamp source, meaning when you turn your headlights on, if you want your gauge, you know, if you want the brightness of your gauge to dim because it's too bright, you would go ahead and connect your orange into some, you know, some headlight wire anywhere around here. Now, I'm not gonna be using the orange wire. I don't really care about my gauge dimming. I don't want it to dim. I actually like the brightness, especially at night. So I'm not gonna be connecting this one. I'm just gonna be putting some tape around the end, and that's it. But yeah, if you did want it though, you'd connect it to any wire that, you know, that dims when you flip your headlights on. So I've got the copper exposed on my yellow wire for my power when switched, and I've got it exposed on my white and green wire for constant voltage. My ground is going to be back there, so let me go ahead and get my wires connected, and we'll see if this gauge works. Alright guys, everything's wired up, connected to the back of the gauge. I got my sensor wire connected as well. So essentially what should happen is, once I flip that switch, the gauge should come on. It should not read any oil pressure yet, because I will not turn the car on completely, but I will switch the switch. So let's see what's up. Okay, there it is. Your gauge will turn on if you wire everything correctly. Obviously it's reading 0 because the car is not turned on. Now let me go ahead and turn the car on and we'll see what our oil pressure is reading. There it is, we now have a reading. Yeah guys, the gauge is working, it's reading pressure. Now all we have to do is our connections back here. We're just gonna go ahead and get those connections soldered up or taped up, or I don't know what we're gonna do, but we're gonna go ahead and get this fixed up and we're gonna run our gauge up to our pot up here. Alright, so I got everything wired up. I actually chose to just go ahead and use some electrical tape and, you know, tape these wires together. So I got my yellow constant with my hot at all times, and I have my positive with my voltage on switch, and I have my negative, which is my ground, grounded down there to that bolt back there. Let me see if I can zoom in real quick. There it is. So everything's wired up. I got the pod where I want it. Wires coming out through the back. Now let me go ahead and flip the switch and let's see if this thing works. Let me just go ahead and turn it on all the way. There it is. And there it is, guys. It looks like it's flashing on the video, but it's not. But there it is. So yeah, let me come out here when it's a little bit darker to show you guys how it looks in the nighttime. All right, guys, it's darker out here. Perfect time to go on ahead and show you guys what the gauge actually looks like. We're gonna go ahead and turn the car on. Guys, so here's the gauge working properly, looking pretty nice. As you can see, I have it on the setting where it changes colors, and that is why, you know, this is a seven color series or something like that. But yeah, it's got this little button right here, and you know, it's got blue, green, red, and you know, they keep going, purple, and then you hit the option again for it to switch color, the switching color option. But yeah guys, this is a pretty nice gauge. Let me rev the engine real quick. There it is, working perfectly. That's the setup right there, boys.